So now that we've talked about our jet bros, let's talk about our helicopter bro, because this was the biggest deal out of this entire set, was our very first ever Deathcobra. So Deathcobra was, of course, brought in by Leozak to take Hellbat's place, because Hellbat's a chicken shit piece of shit. And Hellbat tried to do what Hellbat does and then ended up accidentally killing the guy. So he was here for one episode, never got to combine. But yeah, now we've actually got an official figure, and this one does combine, which is really good. As you can see, he's a chunky little, stumpy little helicopter, but his propellers swivel very nicely, spin very nicely, however you want to say it. I swear I know how to talk. Of course, we have a swiveling gun here in the front that just pegs into place. That is separate in the box. There's the bottom. A little bit of hollow bits here. Now, one thing to note here on this guy in vehicle mode, if you want to have his breast animal attached, it doesn't attach onto his chest. See, there's his chest hole right there. It actually attaches right up here underneath the cockpit, just like so. Now, as far as his transformation, he does have some parts forming that goes on with him. You do have to take the propeller off. It does have little detented ratchets in there, so you can tilt them down just like so. Then we're going to come here, lift up the tail, lift these up, and then we're going to unclip the legs here. And you can see his thighs break apart into two pieces and they fold up. You're going to straighten those out and tab that into place. Go ahead and pull this off. And now a lot of the rest of this is very similar to the Jet Bros, because they do operate the same way. You untab the armpits, flip out the hands. In this instance, we're actually going to pull down and rotate the waist and flip that back in. Take the cockpit area here, untab it, and it plugs into the back. And it took the head with it, but the head, just like the others, if it comes loose, you just tab it in there. Flip up the feet. Now on him, he actually has heel spurs. Have to reach in here to get him out. On this one, you're actually going to have to move that leg out a little bit, move that hand out so you can get in there and tab that in. Then you take the propeller and you're going to switch, turn it around to where you have the thinner peg, and that's going to go in that hole back there. And there we have Deathcobra. He's got bright white paint on his face. Got the fangs of the Cobra hood picked out in white as well. Eyes picked out in red. Nice yellow there for the sides. And yes, that's totally a robot Serpentor. Fight me. Again, nice Decepticon symbol tampoed on there in the midriff. Black paint on the midriff. Again, usual yellow knees. Some sort of yellowish green right there. Of course, yellow on the cockpit. Now, one thing I'll point out here, I didn't point it out on the other guys, just something to be aware of. On all of the Jet Bros and on our Helicopter Bro here, the biceps are cast in the same plastic as the rest of the arms and are painted over to be this gray color. And the color matching on them is really good, if I'm being honest. It's very, very good. But I think that's something to be aware of, as, you know, when you're rotating the arm, you're going to be rubbing against that. You might get some paint rub before too long. Now, as for Cobra's Cobra, just flip that up and flip this out. And there you go. You got a snake. And again, you got that same white paint for the fangs, red for the eyes. Again, very nice little metallic Decepticon logo there. And yellow there. Now this one, you know, the others you can usually get standing on their own, well, except for the Flying Bros, but this one you really can't unless you lay them out like that. And then you can kind of, sort of get them standing like a snake, I guess. Now for gun mode, you just flip the tail all the way out, then you're going to take this handle and flip it out like so. Now I will say, you know, this doesn't lock into place. It's pretty loose. Same thing with the handle, so just be mindful of that. And of course he can hold his gun, and this can peg in just like so. Now, articulation on this guy is the exact same as the Jet Bros. Ball jointed head. You get a little bit more movement on him, but he doesn't have the cut in the back, so he can't look all the way up. Universal joints here. However, due to the way he's sculpted, this is as far out as you can get. There is no moving panels here to make it go out farther. That's the full range. Everything else is identical to the Jet Bros, including the ab crunch and the rotation due to him becoming an arm. Moving on to our tank bros, we have Drillhorn and Killbison, and they're looking like a Drillhorn and a Killbison. As I mentioned in my unboxing, I really love that they picked out the treads in a different color than the rest of the tread apparatus there. Unfortunately, they do have some hollow bits in what forms the feet and the heel, which I'm not a big fan of. And I will say Killbison's tank looks less tanky, but not much different than the G1 toy did. The G1 toy didn't look quite like it did in the show, and this definitely takes a little bit more after the G1 toy. Now the turret here can rotate due to it just being pegged in, and the guns can go up and down just to it being due to them also being pegged in. And you do have wheels here on the bottom, so it can roll fairly decently. It's kind of hard to tell on my soft little top here. In the case of Drillhorn, we do also get some yellow picked out here on the sides. Nice blue for the cockpit. Again, very clean paint, not seeing any bleed anywhere. I mentioned the silver on this. The camera is not doing it justice. The silver on this is absolutely gorgeous. It's a beautiful, beautiful silver. Due to this being a separate piece that pegs in, this also does rotate. Got a nice little red dot there in the front. Digging that. And so, yeah, again, these guys are very, very basic. You can see, you can pretty much tell how these transform right off the bat. Now, on both these guys, you're going to come up here to the top of the backs of their legs and unclip these little pieces right here. That will unlock the ability to open up the side panels, like so. You can then accordion up the knees. Now, these legs do have little tabs on them. You can see that right there. That tab into these knees when they are collapsed in. You do want to make sure those untab, and then just accordion this all the way up. Now, one thing to be mindful of when you're going back into vehicle mode, there is a post in here that goes into the hand there. And you do need to have the hand turned where the underside of the hand is facing out. If you try to turn it any other way and try to close that up, it's just going to push that hand out of that mushroom peg. Now, once you have the legs extended, you can close these side panels. There's a little post right here that's going to go in the little hole right there. And then close the backs back into place. Then you flip out the feet and split the legs. Then you untab the hands and rotate them at the fists. Here on Killbison, you're going to take these whole side panels and you're going to rotate them backwards 90 degrees, just like so. Here on Drillhorn, you're going to take his tank treads and just flip them all the way to the backs of his arms. Lastly, for Drillhorn, you're just going to take the drill and fold it back. This one doesn't necessarily tab in, but there's a little groove right here, and this little top piece sort of loosely fits into there, sort of guide it into place. For Killbison, you're going to want to go ahead and take off his gun, and you're going to reach back here and pull this entire back panel off. Now, this is very hard, I'm not going to lie. These posts really feel like dangerous, like tips might break off at some point, trying to get it in and out of there, because, you know, they don't really, you can see how that just sort of barely misses those posts and you're kind of flexing those into position. I feel like this needed to be tapered to make that a little bit more smoother of a in and out. But anyway, once you got it open, just reach down here and flip out this panel containing his head, snap that back into place, and put that head down into place like so. Now for Killbison's gun, if you want to have the gun turrets coming up over his head like they do in the show, you're going to unpeg the gun turrets and plug them in right there. And this will plug back into the back of his butt And there you have Drillhorn and Killbison. And overall, they do look really good, but of course, my big complaint, which I pointed out in the unboxing, is the great big gaping holes for chests. I don't like that. I absolutely despise that with a vengeance. But there's no denying that it does make things easier for the transformation. And of course, as I mentioned, it makes it to where when the chest animals are in, it makes their chests look more natural and not sticking out to like right here. Which again, I would have been fine if they were sticking out to right here. I would have preferred that over, having the great big gaping hole right there. Now for articulation on these guys, as we're talking about this, I got to point out I did have a minor QC issue here with Drillhorn. Both of these guys have very, very tight, and I mean very tight shoulders. But in the case of Drillhorn, this one just would not move at all. Even now that it's been lubricated, it likes to snap into place. So these are on little like double mushroom pegs. You can actually see I'm sort of oozing some, you can see that shine there. It's a little too much shock oil there. So I did use shock oil, which is a liquid lubricant that's made for toys, models, and RC cars. And I actually took this apart because, he's got screws that are hidden underneath this cockpit piece here, which does unfold. You can see that there. In order to get shock oil into that disc so that I could get it to move. And when I say fused, I mean if I put any pressure on this, any more pressure on this than I was doing to try to move it, I would have sheared that completely off. So that is something to be mindful. The good news is if you can't get this apart, I don't know if you can see it right here, there is a little bit of a square cutout on the back side of that connection right there. If you see that little corner right there. And you can get some lubricant down in there without having to take this apart. But it takes a while to get it into that middle disc, and that middle disc is what was the problem on this guy. So the shoulders are on some very weird universal shoulders. They do get a full 360 and they do get it in and out, but the in and out is way up here and the rotation is way down here. We kind of knew that going into it, and it does make some positions look a little awkward, but it does overall work. We do again also have a bicep swivel as well as a 90-degree bend at the elbow. This time, however, the wrists are just on mushroom pegs. The heads for both of these guys are on ball joints. You do get a decent amount of movement out of them, full 360 around. Of course, he's got a little flap underneath his head that can easily move up and down. We do have a waist swivel on both of these guys. In the case of Killbison, obviously he's got the big chunk hanging off his butt right there that can sort of hinder things. Now his panels here on his shoulders don't hinder that much. You can get full all the way out to the side, and you can get full 360 pretty easily without bumping into a lot of things, but obviously these are sitting back here, so depending on what pose you do, they might get it in the way. You do also have universal joints at the hips. You can do full splits all the way forward, not all the way back as they start hitting the junk in their trunk back here. We do also have a thigh swivel there at the thigh on a mushroom peg, and we get less than 90 degrees of bend there at the knee, but there's so much chunk here. Even if you had more than 90 degrees, I don't think you'd get very far. And lastly, these guys do have a toe pivot as well as some up and down movement on said toes due to their transformation. As for their breast animals, here we have the Rhino. Once again, nice shiny Decepticon sticker. Well, not sticker, Campo. There's no stickers on these guys. Little detail poked out in the eyes. Black and white. Once again, we got ball jointed arms and legs. And here is our little Bison. Little winged buffalo bro. Now both of these guys pretty much work the exact same way. Just fold up the legs. Fold out the little thing there. Fold out the little thing there and fold down the heads. And there you have a gun, or you leave the gun part folded in, and there you have a chest. Now these chests do work a little differently though. So here on the legs of both of these guys, they have little tabs sticking out. And those tabs actually have grooves that they slot into right here, there, right there, and right there, as well as the little post hole right there. And if the legs aren't quite lined up right, it can make it a little bit weird and awkward to get these guys to go into their home. Now, the main reason for this is in Liokaiser mode, because you can stick all of these guys back into their place in Liokaiser. And what they've done here for both of these guys is that their chests are the exact same mold. They didn't remold them for either version. It's just the core chest is the same. And this guy, you don't have access to a peg hole when you got him in leg mode. So he has to use those grooves to fit into place. And lastly, we have our Jaguar Buggy bro. I keep calling him Jalguar because that's how his name is spelled. It's not how it's pronounced in Japanese. It's more Jaruga. And so it's usually, written down as Jaruga, which, is what they've been calling him. And that is correct. That's really the correct pronunciation, but it's an old habit to break. Anyway, so yeah, he's a little black buggy with yellow and white bits and bits of silver. Another very nice metallic Decepticon tampo on there. Again, just like the Jet Bros, his arms are all cast in black plastic, but painted right there. The paint match is fairly close, but not quite the same color white as the rest of him. It's a yellow there. And of course, he has his detachable missile pieces right here, just like so. And you might have saw he has a hinge right here. I'm guessing that's to make things easier for when you're putting him into combined mode, but it doesn't really do anything. Now, of course, this guy wears the pants in the family. So yes, we're doing the legs that become a separate thing, like we did with Devastator. Only this time, rather than them transforming into anything, they just sculpted little dots in there and painted them red and said it's a missile launcher. Sure. I know the whole frame transformation that we've been doing is not everybody's cup of tea. It initially wasn't mine either. I was okay with it on Minosaur because that's how Minosaur transformed in the cartoon, so I was able to justify the frame with him. I was less inclined to do so with Superion. But honestly, after playing with Superion and seeing how solid he is and how well he generally looks, I'm not a fan of the jets on the back of his legs. I've never have been. I've grown accustomed to it. And of course, Devastator, the new Devastator, is a fantastic, fantastic piece. So I can overlook this. I can absolutely overlook this because the end result is worth the cheat. He's meant to carry this. So to do that, you're going to lift the legs up just enough to get them out of the way of this little thing in Liokaiser's butt, the little rounded bit with the two dots in there. Those are actually going to peg into these hinge joints right there where those pins are at. And you may need to squeeze his back legs together a bit to get that to clip in. But once you get that clipped in, you're just going to rotate these out and over the sides of the wheels, and they will tab into the sides of the wheels. Just like so. And give him a great big chunk of something that actually makes him want to fall backwards. But with that on there, he does still roll pretty good. So there's that. It's big, it's goofy, it's stupid looking, but it's also kind of fun. And I can handle stupid if it's fun. And once again, he's got a very complicated transformation, just like all the rest. Sarcasm. Pull these off of that right there, and then you're going to tab these onto the side right there. Then you fold this around, untab the arms, fold out the hands, rotate the arms here at the biceps all the way around, then fold this whole piece here back. There's little tabs right here. They're going to go in these little slots in the windshield. And rotate the head around, split the legs, and boom. All the complexity of a G1 Transformer. I didn't remove this guy's breast animal because this is the guy, like he looks really cool. He looks really cool. He's good looking. Until you take this out. And this is every bit as egregious as the Tank Bros, but somehow just feels more egregious. Because you know what, the Tank Bros, I understand. It's making it fit, and it's the same thing here, making it fit in so it looks like a normal chest. But with the Tank Bros, you're also accommodating for the transformation. That's where their legs, the leg connectors are. That's how you swing them up. Here, there's really no call for this. So this back here, this is the only structural part when it comes down to it that has to have a solid clip connection. That still leaves some space down here where you could have had a push button to push this out, to have this be on a slider. There's not enough room in here for these to have been like folding doors or a flap like there was on the Saurus or on the Scramble City Combiner legs. But still, they could have done something better than this. I would have been even okay with interchangeable chests. A normal chest that plugs in there. So when you have this guy out, you can have something in there. And I'm sure that's what third-party guys are going to do and your 3D printer guys are going to do. I hate that. And it does hurt this figure quite a bit. But beyond that, let's talk about his articulation. The head, again, is on a ball joint. You get full range of motion, a little bit up and down. You have universal joints here at the shoulders. Once again, due to the way they're sculpted, you can't really get all the way out. That's as far as you can go. Due to transformation, we have the same bicep swivel as everybody else. He does have the ball jointed wrists like the Jet Bros do. We do have a waist swivel here. Tight waist swivel, I might point out. We do have universal hips, but thanks to the wheels here, you don't quite get the full splits. All the way forward, all the way back. We have thigh rotation. Way past 90 degrees of bend there at the knee due to his transformation. Of course, these being pegged in, you can just rotate those around. We do have a full ankle tilt now instead of just the toes, and the toes due to transformation can go up and down. So I mentioned before when we were talking about Leozak, this wing piece here is tabbed in, and it is somewhat tabbed in off center. It would have been nice if they had put some clearance in here to where this could rotate around and cover up the shoulders instead of being up here on his butt, because it makes his whole build look very weird. Like he looks more like a bear than a Jaguar. But again, we do have some decent sculpted detail, little bits picked out in paint, kind of washing out on the camera, but yeah, it is what it is. And just like before, just fold up the legs. And then you can fold out that piece there to be the gun. Fold out the peg. Hold in the head. And then he can hold it as a gun. Which, if there was ever an excuse for a character to never actually use his chest animal as a gun, this is it. And so, yeah, there is the whole team. The Breast Force. And they're a good-looking set of bots. They really are. Yes, they're very simplistic. They're very basic, very G1-esque in the way they transform. There is some steps here and there to give it a little bit more than just a quick, flip of the hood and it's a robot. Though it's not that far from it. But it is in service to a greater whole, and the greater whole is worth it. And we'll get there. We'll get there. But as far as the individual bots go, they're not really that much special to write home about, if I'm being honest. Other than the fact that, this is one of those sets that probably would not get made. I did say that I believe that there was a way to get these at retail, which would have been much like they did with the Dino King, is to release these as either a team of Autobots or a team of Decepticons that are more well known. Like, you know, you could have made that Shockwave, that Soundwave, and made those 3 Seekers and come up with something for them. But again, this is a niche character or a niche set of characters. It's a bad guy. Bad guys don't sell as good as the good guys do. And it's also one of those very obscure sets, because the original set of these guys from G1, because they were bad guys and not as readily available and not as readily bought by kids at the time, because that guy was cast in gold plastic and just breaks because he's cast in gold plastic, it makes this set very rare and very expensive to come by. So to have new versions of them, you know, is amazing. Now, do I wish these original bots or the individual bots were done better? Yes. Do I think they could have been done better? Some, yes. Without completely redesigning how they combine, I would say that in the case of Leozak and the Tank Boys, no. Just based on how they combine and how solid and good that combination is, I'd have to say no. And yes, that means that the only way I could see them doing the chests on these guys is either to have made a flap here that's removable or an interchangeable chest. That really is the only way they could have done it. Him, they absolutely could have done better. I guarantee you they could have done better. It would have increased the parts count, made it a little bit more expensive, but they could have done better. Do I foresee lots of third-party add-on kits fixing things or adding things like show-accurate chests or chests to go on underneath the chests? Yeah, absolutely. Same thing, you know, you'll usually see your Toy Hacks sticker sheet, and I'm always down for those. So, yes, this could have been better as far as the individual bots go. But when it comes to Liokaiser, that's where this set really shines. I cannot stress that enough. But we're not going to get to that today. Just looking at all of these guys individually is going to be a lot of editing and a lot of time in a long video. And so it'd probably be best to go ahead and do the combined mode in a separate video. So for now, guys, that's going to be it for me. Y'all have a good one.